And we are live. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the show. Another episode of Full Metal 5. And I'm your host, Chance Ellison. And in honor of the release of Glass, which I am both excited and morbidly curious about, we are doing the top 5 best sequels to come out 10 years or more after the original. Doesn't have to be a direct sequel. It can be a third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh entry. Doesn't matter. As long as there's a 10-year gap between that one and the original film. And I have a great panel discuss with me today. Some new faces, some old faces. I can't wait to see what these guys got on the show. First of all, let's go to the veteran on the show. I guess veteran in a sense. I'm not sure who has more between the two guys returning. But you may recognize from Multiplex Entertainment. He may be the kid, maybe the king. Doesn't matter. He's mediocre trivia. It's Caleb Coho. Caleb, how you doing?
Ouch! I felt that barb. You might have beaten me by TKO. But no. I'm feeling good. This is gonna be fun. This is gonna be a really interesting topic. A lot of different films are probably gonna get brought up. And as always, I'm going to be the one with the worst taste on the panel, and it's gonna be fun.
Well, I mean that's kind of a given. Next to him, you may confuse him for my team/podcast partner, Russell Howell, but he is in fact not this guy. Russell Howell is way less harsh on films. It is Brian Michaels. Brian, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. Looking forward to having some fun. And based on the things I have on my list for this time, I might actually get through one of these panels without having everyone tell me they haven't seen the films. So,
hopefully that happens. Next to him, he is a new person we've had on a new person now on the panel, new person to the channel. It is Chris Dalby. Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me, Chance. You know, Caleb says he might have the worst taste in films. I think I'll have the most pretentious taste in films. And in researching this, I was like, this is actually a genuinely fresh topic. Like, it's really hard to come up with a top 5 for this. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what we get.
Yeah, I mean that is crazy. Looking at the list. The list is very long, but it's a matter of cherry picking which ones you wanna throw up when. And I'd go to our last guest in the panel, but he mysteriously dropped off the call, breaking the fourth wall a bit. I'm sure he'll be back. We will definitely get to him when he pops back in. But for right now, we're gonna see how much we can go on without him. So the way this show works, it goes in 3 different selection processes. The first one is the nominations period. What we're each going to do is we're each going to go around. We're each going to nominate a sequel that came out 10 years after the original for the top 7. In order for a movie to make the top 7, it has to get 3/5 majority votes. And trust me, the fifth will come in later if we need it. So I'm going to go first, and I'm going to. We're thinking about this. There are a lot of movies on my short list, but the first one I'm going to go with is one that I think is maybe the easiest. I think it's definitely top 7. It is the 4th entry in a franchise that had been dead since the 80s, and this was the badass comeback that nobody really wanted, but everybody needed, and that is Mad Max Fury Road. Like, I was a huge fan of the original Mad Max movies. 1, 2, Thunderdome. I think they're all really good action films. This one just steps it up, just uses the aspects of modern day filmmaking with the special effects and camera work, and just turns everything up to 11. It is one of the most unique movies I've ever seen. It's one of the most unique cinema experiences I've ever had in my entire life. I've seen plenty of post-apocalyptic films. I had never, and plenty of like car-based action movies. I have never seen anything like Mad Max Fury Road. Okay, and we just got our panelist back, Ryan Payne. Ryan, how you doing?
Well, other than my loss of signal, I'm pretty good right now.
Okay, well, you just came back for our first nomination, so like I said, Mad Max Fury Road, my first bid for top 7.
Oh,
gonna go to Ryan first. Ryan, Mad Max Fury Road doesn't make top 7.
Actually, yeah, I would nominate. That was actually one of the first 3 on my list. So yeah, Mad Max Fury Road is on. I would nominate that. It's a great movie from start to finish. And it definitely, I love the take how Max is kind of like in the second movie. He's even though he's the focus, he is the supporting character under a story of a few other characters like Furiosa, the wives of Immortan Joe. Yeah, I just love the movie in all itself.
All right, so that is one bid for top 7. Gonna go to Caleb. Mad Max Fury Road.
love that you just came to me because you know exactly what I'm going to say.
I do not actually.
Oh, really? I thought you went to me because you knew I'm one of the biggest proponents against Mad Max Fury Road.
I forgot. You know what? I did know that. I just happened to forget.
Yeah.
So, Caleb, explain to us why you have shitty taste in movies.
I think it's visually spectacular. I think it is a gorgeous looking movie. The action is really well done. Just for me, I am a big story guy, and the story of Fury Road for me is about 2 pages of a script where they go there, turn around, and come back. And I don't know. I like more into my movies than that, but it is very technically well made. I just really did not think it was the Best Picture nominee.
Look, not everything can be as high art as Now You See Me, which
You're
is
right.
in the top
You
25.
are so right. You are so right. I see the arrow right.
Most of the time, it's about the journey leading to before the destination. So that's one of the things I liked about Fury Road. I mean, sure they go back, but I like the journey of the characters.
All right. Well, either way, that is 1 vote for and 1 vote against Mad Max. Going to go to Chris Dalby next. Chris.
You're muted.
You muted, Chris.
Sorry. I'm actually going to vote against Mad Max Fury Road. I love the movie. I adore the movie. But I agree with Caleb. I'm going to pick up on another point. I thought the character work was weak. I thought Tom Hardy in the role, that is the role of Mad Max, obviously. Tom Hardy didn't particularly impress me. I think that the most impressive characters were the side characters. Furiosa was fun enough, and I'm looking forward to seeing if they do a sequel. I think it's a great movie. I think it's visually a masterpiece, one of the greatest movies of the last 20 years visually. But I agree, it's not enough. It doesn't quite make the cut for me.
One of the greatest masterpieces, one of the greatest movies of 20th century.
I found
Not
my
good
new
enough.
best friend.
Visually, technically, one of the greatest movies. Let's say one of the greatest pieces of cinematography of the last 20 years. As a movie, it just falls short.
Okay, well, Caleb, you're not alone in the shame corner.
Yes.
We are.
Welcome.
Mad Max Fury Road is. We have a split. Brian, it is up to you. Mad Max Fury Road doesn't make top 7.
Mad Max Fury Road was going to be my first nomination. It absolutely should make top 7. I mean, it's not only it is an excellent looking movie. It's one of the best cinematography I've seen in years. But the action is kinetic. It's creative. You took a franchise that hadn't been around in 30 years, and it came back, and it was arguably, I think, the best of the films.
I agree.
They talk about how it doesn't have a story. It's not enough for them, but not every movie has to have the same aspect. I mean, there are movies that are nothing but a conversation at a dinner table for 2 hours, and they have
My Dinner with Andre.
I can.
well, something like that, and they have great dialogue, but they don't have anything to offer visually. This, yes, it was primarily visually, the action, the cinematography, and everything, and not as much of a story. But that's not the movie that was trying to be. This was another reason it was one of the best sequels is because it is staying in the vein of the original series and doing what that series is trying to do, which is just be awesome post-apocalyptic action. So absolutely yes.
All right, so that seals the deal. Mad Max Fury Road is the first movie to make it on the top 7.
I got my vote for a second.
Brian, you were the tie-breaking vote the last time, so we are going to you next. What is your first nomination?
Oh, well, it was going to be Fury Road. So now I'm going to make somebody else argue with me again because I am going to say Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Hey, you can think of it as a 10 years later sequel to Revenge of the Sith, or more accurately, it's a 32-year sequel to Return of the Jedi.
Revenge of the
Jedi.
Yeah.
Revenge.
I have that poster over here, actually. But I mean, that reawakened Star Wars fandom, which had been really dampened, if not almost killed by the prequels, and the people did not love those, to put it lightly.
I was actually one of the few who loved the prequels, but sorry to interrupt.
But I mean, I thought it was a great sequel. It continued the story of the original characters that we loved, as well as introducing new ones. Harrison Ford seemed like he was awake for the first time in decades. I mean, obviously it was successful. It's still like the #1 domestic all-time box office, although I know that's not a measure of quality of a film, but it just shows a lot of people agree that it's a great sequel.
All right, so Star Wars: The Force Awakens is up for top 7. Do not just ignore my shirt logo for like 3 seconds. I love Force Awakens. It was my favorite movie that year it came out. I think there's a sequel that's in the same span of time that I prefer to this one.
You know, it came out the same year as Mad Max, right?
I do know it's kind of the same year as Mad Max. That was the year of resurfacing old franchise from the 70s.
Movie releases.
I'm going to slightly okay. You know what? I'm gonna give this a yes just for the interest of getting a Star Wars movie on the list, just because the one I want to throw up, I'm not sure we'll get on. So I'll give this one a yes to get Star Wars on.
There's only one other one we waited 10 years for, and that's not making it.
The one that you want to throw up is the one I want.
Yeah, that's the one I wish would get on. I don't think it will. So for the interest of getting a Star Wars movie on the list, I'll say yes.
It's kind of a double count. I mean,
okay, I'm gonna go to Chris.
You know, I'm going to vote in favor of Star Wars: The Force Awakens. I think I agree completely with what Brian said. The only caveat is I think any semi-competent Star Wars film would have reawakened the fandom. I think that you have to take away what the fans would have welcomed anyway, as long as we didn't get like a Phantom Menace. However, I agree. Yes, it was derivative. Yes, it went too far. It tacked too close to the original. But at the same time, we were back. You know, as soon as that crawl hit, you were back. And it did just enough original. It did just enough twists on the original characters. It presented this amazing new legacy of Rey, Poe, and Finn.
yes.
The past shortcomings, absolutely, it's a top 7.
All right, so that is. Oh, actually, no, that's still the Force Awakens. The second movie to make the top 7.
Yeah.
Caleb, Brian, you didn't get votes. Caleb, what would you have said?
I would have done what you were too scared to do and voted no in interest of getting the better Star Wars film that came out 10 years later on the list. I like Force Awakens. I like the sequel more. That's all I'm going to say.
Trust me, I like Sequel more too, but I doubt Last Jedi would have gotten on.
Did Last Jedi go on there?
I would have voted for Last Jedi. I still argue with some of the hardcore fans.
Chance, I'll throw it up and we can put it on as well. It'll be okay.
Maybe I'm misunderstanding the guidelines, because Last Jedi would only be 2 years after the previous film.
Well, but like 10 years from the original Star Wars.
Oh, so that changes my entire list. I didn't know that.
Force Awakens, I mean, if you're looking at story-wise,
since I got here and heard that, so
I thought it was 10 years between, like, before there had been a previous one.
I mean, if you're looking for releases, I mean, Force Awakens does come after Revenge of the Sith, as much people, but then also story-wise, it does follow up from from the Return of the Jedi.
The Last Jedi would still count for this list. So if you want to rescind your vote and go Last Jedi.
No, because I would need to go research a whole new list, but let's just
all right, well, then never mind. So Force Awakens makes top 7.
All right.
I'm going to go to Ryan next, your first nomination.
Okay, my list. This one was, I don't know if it's going to be controversial, but I think this should be put on here. Personally, in my opinion, I'm going to talk about the Rocky franchise, as in the Rocky Balboa, which came more than 10 years after Rocky 5. And for me, when I saw this film...
Oh, wait. Oh, you're going Balboa?
Rocky Balboa.
Okay, keep going.
Okay.
Yeah, I see the disappointments. Look, the release dates, it was more than 10 years after Rocky 5. And also, from where Rocky 5 was, Sylvester Stallone himself said he made this movie to apologize to the Rocky fans. And seeing how this movie was, sure, it felt kind of like unrealistic. Rocky, he gets out of retirement, has another fight. But I like the story in between, how his relationship with his son. Of course, that speech that he uses, it's not about how hard you get, it's about how you can get hit and get back up and keep moving forward. Now, and also, even before then, I like how they are trying to argue in the movie how Rocky shouldn't fight, how he's an old man. And the whole point of this movie is about Rocky just trying to get this one thing out of him that just, it's like this one more fight, and then he can finally go on with his life. And of course, they go forward in the Creed movies, but I think Rocky Balboa is a good sequel, and I still rewatch it like once every year. I don't try to, sully it, in my opinion.
That's a very specific type of rewatch. Okay, so Rocky Balboa. I saw Caleb's. If you want a funny moment, go back and rewatch Caleb. Watch Caleb. Rocky Balboa, just watch his heart
As
break.
soon as the words Rocky Balboa came out of his mouth, my whole thing changed. I heard Rocky, I just like, yes.
Okay, so Caleb, your take on Rocky Balboa. Does it make top 7?
Look, I like Rocky Balboa. When I was going based on the original criteria that Brian had put forward, it made my top 10 picks. But when we got in here, I heard the reevaluation, and I've been reevaluating. It's not the Rocky movie I would put on. So I'm gonna hang back and give it a no and hope that the other one gets on.
Okay, that may be my fault. That may be my fault for not making the instructions clear enough. But
That's cool.
You
yeah,
also use the word gap sequels, which there isn't a gap if it's just 2 years after the anyway.
is that how I pitched it? Okay, that's not what I meant. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right.
ahead.
Well, that's
Yeah,
one
fine,
vote
it's fine.
against Rocky Balboa. I'm gonna go to. You're actually gonna go to me next, and yeah, no, I love the Rocky franchise. I really do. Except five. Five is awful. But I think there is a better sequel to come out of this than Balboa.
I know.
It was number one until a certain other movie came out. So I'm gonna give it a no just because
Okay.
I think there's a more deserving film on here. Going to Brian next.
Yeah, I like the Rocky movies, but Rocky Balboa probably isn't even in my top 3 Rocky movies.
Really?
It was all right.
Yeah, no, that makes sense now. That makes sense now.
No,
Yeah.
It was all right, but I wouldn't put it in top 7. No.
I liked it for what Sylvester was trying to do. I had a feeling this wasn't going to be on the list, but I just liked that Sylvester was trying to get Rocky back in everyone's minds, at least leave everyone with a good taste before Creed
It's
came
still
in.
part of the conversation. Yeah.
All right, so that is it. Rocky Balboa does not make top 7. Chris, what would you have said?
No, I'm gonna vote. I'm gonna vote no. It's an interesting pick, and I think Rocky Balboa is a better watch after you see Creed 2.
Yeah.
I think that Creed, they dropped the whole angle of his family and that relationship with his son, played by Milo Ventimiglia. And they go back to it in Creed 2. Yes, it's a bit cheesy, but I think when you watch it right after Rocky Balboa, and I rewatch Rocky Balboa before going to see Creed 2, Rocky Balboa becomes a better film. No, it doesn't become that much better to make top 7.
Well,
All right.
I agree with you. Although in Creed they do mention, because in Rocky Balboa, Adrian's dead, and yeah, they do drop the angle with the family. It comes back in Creed 2. I agree with you on that. And yeah, after watching Creed 2, Rocky Balboa does become better. It's kind of but I do agree with you there. I'm not trying to argue with the point. It was just like Easter eggs and all that stuff. Like I'm trying to get a little dirty on you. I'm like, no. Let's just talk about that.
All right, so now we're going to Chris for the first nomination. Chris, what do you want to load on it first?
So I really struggled with this first pick, and I had 2 criteria. One was that it had to be the classic to an absolute masterpiece. And 2 is that it couldn't just repeat the masterpiece. It had to build on that legacy in an original way. And the one that kept coming back to me was Blade Runner 2049.
Oh.
Now, it might be controversial. It's not the funnest movie in the bunch, but Blade Runner was such an iconic vision at the time in the 80s when it came out. It built a world like we hadn't seen. It took the book and it built on it. It had a visual identity that was all of its own. And Blade Runner 2049 built on that visual identity. It built on the mythology. It built on the characters while telling its own story. And I think it's a masterpiece across the board. Cinematography, acting, script, music. Really. It's one of my favorite films of the last decade, and it was my first pick.
All right, Blade Runner 2049 is up for top 7. Gonna go to Ryan first.
I'm gonna vote a yes on this. I saw this movie in IMAX, and that crowd I was with. I mean, the movie was visually stunning. I did love the story. Ryan Gosling really said a lot in so many scenes where he maybe only had no dialogue or maybe only said one word. And I still go back to that scene where he visits. I forgot her name, but when he learns his memory is real, just in those moments before he screams, that acting is very good, and then it changes his entire character and motivations after that. So yes, I will vote yes.
All right, so okay, by crowd, do you mean like the 12 people who were in the theater with you? Because literally had that big crowd.
No, it was a three-quarters full. There was maybe only one row empty, and that was the very first row. Like people who had to lean back with their necks up just to see the movie.
Wow, color me shocked. All right, so 1 vote for Blade Runner 2049. That's going to Brian next. Brian, Blade Runner 2049, does it make top 7?
Before I knew the new guidelines, I probably would have said yes. But now there's a whole bunch of more movies that are eligible that I think are more deserving. I kind of feel like Caleb felt about Fury Road. Not in that there wasn't a story to it, but in that Blade Runner 2049 was visually gorgeous. Some of the best cinematography I've seen maybe ever. But the story didn't do much for me. I thought Harrison Ford showing up was kind of fan service. I didn't like the bad CG Sean Young.
Oh,
But
I thought that
visually,
was
I
actually
like the
her,
movie.
but okay.
So I'm going to vote no on this one.
All right, so now you come to me, and this is a struggle because I'm trying to think of what else I've put on, but Blade Runner 2049 was Blade Runner is one of my favorite films of all time. I love it. It's my number one Ridley Scott movie ever. I think it's a masterpiece. And when I heard about this movie, I was just like, no, why are you doing this? Stop it, Denis. Stop it. But then I saw it, and I'm just like, okay, Denis, I'm sorry. I am very sorry because I loved Blade Runner 2049. It managed to capture the spirit of the original while also introducing like new morals, new ideas, new higher concepts that really only a director like Denis Villeneuve could have handled. Ryan Gosling's fantastic in the movie. I don't agree that Harrison Ford was fan service at all because he was really only in it for like the last third of the film, and he still managed, and like he was relevant in the story. He was fantastic. He has a great performance. Jared Leto didn't piss me off, which is an amazing feat.
He made Jared Leto work. Okay.
Yeah. Even with his stupid fake blindness, I did not want to kick Jared Leto in the teeth, so I consider that a win for the movie. Yeah, visually stunning. One of the best directed movies that year. How Denis Villeneuve did not get nominated for Best Director it's a shame because he really should have been. And yeah, I definitely think it deserves a spot on this list. So Blade Runner 2049 makes top 7. Caleb, you didn't get a vote. What would you have said?
I would have echoed every sentiment that Brian had. An hour and a half into the movie, and I'm like, when's stuff gonna happen? Yeah.
I'm going to counter that. When Brian said that the story didn't do anything, the opening scene of Blade Runner 2049, where he retires Sam Morton, Dave Bautista's character, and then discovers what's under the tree. That scene might be my second favorite opening scene of any movie after Inglourious Basterds.
Yeah. And I did like that scene. That was a great scene.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Caleb, it's we're sorry that it's not as high concept as Cars for you, but Blade Runner 2049.
Oh, you just wait till Cars 3 comes up in this discussion, Chance.
Is it really?
Sorry, no.
You're really gonna bring it up?
No, I'm not bringing up Cars 3.
Okay, Caleb, your first
ballot. My first nom is actually going to be it's going to be a movie that came out 17 years after
You're talking about movies that came
predecessor.
out, sequels that came out.
And I think that it was honestly in a lot of ways better than the one that came before it. And M. Night Shyamalan had not made a good movie in a long time. And then Split came out. And Split, I think, is better than Unbreakable. I rewatched it again the other day. It is thrilling. It is intense. James McAvoy gives several great performances throughout the film with the different characters he creates. I think McAvoy is fantastic. I think Haley Richardson is great. Overall, it's a very thrilling story, and overall, I think Split deserves to be in the conversation for top 7 sequels from 10 plus years of all time. So.
All right, so M. Night Shyamalan's Split, partially the reason we're here, is up for top 7. It's gonna go to Chris first this time. Chris.
This is a very tough one for me. I'm gonna vote no. Sorry, Caleb. For one simple reason is when I watched it, I did not know that it was an Unbreakable sequel. I went to watch it on like day 2, and I hadn't read anything. I hadn't read any reviews, and I was enjoying the movie. I thought, yeah, this is solid. This is a return to form for Shyamalan. It's a solid plot. I didn't blow my mind. I thought it was a very good movie. And then in the last 5 minutes, David Dunn appears. The crowd goes nuts in the movie. Okay. It elevated it significantly, but I'm not sure that one scene and the reaction to one scene should make an entire movie worthy of a top 7 spot. If you remove that scene if you remove the Unbreakable link, Split is a solid movie. It's not a fantastic movie, so not for me.
But I will counter once you rewatch the film under the viewing of it is an Unbreakable sequel. It changes the entire way you view the film.
This is true. I do need to rewatch it before I go and see Glass, but having not done that yet,
that's true. I mean, I understand.
All right, so that is one vote against. That's one vote against Split. Gonna go to Ryan next. Ryan, if you'll unmute and
Honestly, I'm agreeing with Chris there. Split really didn't make my list because the last 5 minutes of it, I didn't really see it as a sequel. I mean, if this was a talk about Shyamalan coming back to form, then yes, Split would definitely be on a list. But as far as a sequel goes, I would say no. I mean, James McAvoy was fantastic. And I loved how the whole film was straightforward and linear. I didn't feel lost at times. But regarding on the fact that of it being a sequel to Unbreakable, I can't count the last 5 minutes for the rest of the movie, so I'm gonna have to say no.
All right, so that's 2 votes against Split going to Brian. Are you gonna put it to bed, or you gonna keep it alive?
I'm pretty much gonna put it to bed. With the same thing. I like it. I think it's a good movie. I can't think of it as a sequel to Unbreakable. Is it in the same universe as Unbreakable? Yes, but I don't think that cameo at the end makes it a sequel. That could be argued, but even if it was a sequel, I still would not put it in the top 7. So,
in final defense, they have a lot of conversations about the multiple personality and the way that it affects the body throughout the film. Once you review it with the context, this is in the universe of Unbreakable, all those conversations about strength, the beast, in how that personality comes about is completely changed and recontextualized into the Unbreakable universe. So that's my only defense of it.
Well, your last defense is for not.
It's a good point.
Your last defense is for not, just because Split does
it's
not
going.
make top
It's dead.
7. And I would have agreed. Now look, I think Split is a really good movie. One of Shyamalan's best, not better than Unbreakable. I will not stand for that slander. The thing about Split is, like, if we're just looking at movies as sequels, I don't think it's like qualified. I don't think it works quite in that vein. Again, last 5 minutes aren't enough to make the top 7. So yeah, can't give it the final go. So now I come back to me, and I'm gonna go with something a little more on brand for myself. I'm gonna go with a Pixar sequel. I think there's only one sequel that should be on this list, and that is Toy Story 3. And Robert Parker just tuned out of this episode. And here's the thing, look, because I say people, but really it's just Robert will throw out the fact that it's not earned. It just uses too much nostalgia. But I don't think it really is. It's 10 plus years of just built up emotional payoff, all in just this one great little package of a movie. You got a great villain, Lato Hagenbear, the nicest mass murderer since the Governor on The Walking Dead. I think it's it does have a fair amount of stakes when you look at it on a rewatch. All the voice acting is still great. All the humor and writing is still good. And the ending is one of the most emotional in Pixar's entire filmography. So I'm going for my next vote. I'm saying Toy Story 3. I had to remember what I was talking about for a second.
Wow.
So going to Ryan first. Sorry, I'm looking at a list right now, so I'm just like, which one am I talking about?
That's okay.
So Ryan, what you said? Toy Story 3.
Toy Story 3. Yes, I would put this on the list. And when I saw this movie, I didn't feel nostalgic at all, because not only did they have this 10-year story gap, but they made it work for the story. Andy is much older now, and you see where Woody, Buzz, and the gang, they become comfortable in this life with Andy. So when he moves to college, it's kind of like getting the legs cut from underneath you. The story plays out, I won't say realistically, because I felt a connection to it where, like myself, I go to college or I'm in high school, I don't have use to my toys anymore. So I felt a great connection. And yes, that last scene was so fantastic, with Andy telling that little girl the most important toy, Woody, how important he is to him. It's okay. It gets really emotional talking about this movie, so I'm gonna stop there. And yes, this goes on the list.
All right. Wow. So impassioned by this movie, he had to stop talking. Going to Caleb to never let me down. Oh boy.
Nothing good starts with a sigh.
Yep.
And I just got emotional.
I thought you were going with a different Pixar sequel that I personally enjoy more.
I don't know.
But I'm gonna go yes on Toy Story 3 because I do think we need one Pixar sequel on the list, and I feel like if I bring up Incredibles 2, it's an uphill battle. So yeah.
You're definitely right on that one, man. So that's that's 2 votes. So Toy Story 3 is in for the top 7. Chris, Brian, you didn't get votes. So Chris, what would you say about Toy Story 3?
I absolutely would put Toy Story 3 in, and I go to the credit scene. When the credits are rolling and you see the army men parachuting into Sunnyside, for me that encapsulates just how good Pixar are at character art. This is not a Woody and Buzz movie. It's every single toy gets their moment, gets their time in the sun, gets their art complete, whether it's Slinky, whether it's Rex, whether it's Bo Peep, the army, every single one of them.
Oh my god.
And so it's not even a secondary, it's like a tertiary character gets their moment. They get that beat to say, no, they're okay too. This is how the story ends for them. And that, among many other reasons, it is a phenomenal trilogy. And I am nervous about Toy Story 4. I don't want that movie. I don't think it's needed. I think it would have been kept as maybe the best trilogy of all time.
Hey,
Definitely.
I'm nervous too, but hey, if it's not good, we still have the first 3, so that's cool. And Brian, what would you say? Would have been a clean sweep?
I'm just saying I'm glad you didn't come to me earlier because because I love the movie, but it might have been just outside my top pick. So it's like I'm glad you guys made the decision, so I didn't have to.
Okay.
I think we have yet to have a clean sweep on this panel so far. Oh wait, no, Force Awakens was a clean sweep. But anyways,
No, I voted
Brian, we come back to you. Oh, you did?
Yeah, because I did what you wouldn't do, and I wanted to get the Last Jedi.
Oh, my bad. Okay, so we have yet to have a clean sweep yet. So Brian, your next nomination.
Oh, there's one I want to nominate, but I think I might have the whole not exactly a sequel thrown back in my face, so I'm going to skip that.
I think I know which one you're going with, but maybe talk to us after the show, or when we get to honorable mentions.
I'm going to go with one that I didn't think was ever going to happen, but came out 21 years after the original, and that is T2 Trainspotting.
Ooh.
Wow,
Lucas playing to Lucas Schildbach, I see.
Well, I don't know. It all depends on the crowd. I don't know if this is going to make it or not, but I thought it was at least worthy of the conversation because it was 21 years after the original, and like Chris was talking about, it has to build on the story, and this one did. It wasn't just the same story over again. It was visiting these characters 20 years later and how they've all changed and what's gone on in their lives and how their chemistry or conflict between each other has changed. And I really love the way they did that. I mean, Ewan McGregor had gone on to become a star. Danny Boyle started making Oscar movies, but they still managed to get everybody back to do this movie. And so that's why I thought it was deserved to be talked about on the list.
All right, so T2 Trainspotting. Let the record show there's only one real T2, Terminator 2. They coined that phrase.
Title. I will admit that I don't like.
They coined that phrase over 20 years before the movie even came out. So
yes.
Either way, Trainspotting T2 Trainspotting is actually it's a really good movie. Like it's what did Danny Boyle do before that? He did the Steve Jobs because like Danny Boyle is like he's sneakily one of the better filmmakers working today. I like T2 a fair amount. There are other sequels that I like more. So just purely for that reason, I'm going to go against T2. Although I do like the movie. Gonna go to the only actual Englishman on this panel, Chris.
I'm gonna go yes. And I had not even
is it because you know you'd be deported if you didn't?
True. But I live in Mexico, so I wouldn't deport me for this. I'm gonna go yes because I hadn't even considered it for my top 10. Like I saw it, I just skipped past it. I like the movie, but Brian's argument actually completely swung me. Secondly, all the movies we've talked about here are big spectacle movies, right? Almost all of them. Mad Max Fury Road, Star Wars, even Blade Runner. And this is just a character piece. This is just 4 men who are lost, who are caught in a spiral of self-destruction. And Danny Boyle tells you that story 25 years on with the same flair and the same attachment and the same endearing sort of camera work. And yeah, actually, I hadn't considered it, but Brian, absolutely a great pick, and it should be on the top 10.
Brian has some like really clutch picks on this show. That's something I've noticed. All right, so that's 1 vote for, 1 vote against. Gonna go to the one I think is more likely to have seen. I'm gonna go Ryan.
Okay, yeah, you are kind of right there. I have not seen Trainspotting 2 yet. I've only heard some good word from friends, and so I know the first Trainspotting. That was definitely a big movie to watch with my college buddies. But T2 is mainly I've heard it from word of mouth, so I would have to abstain from voting.
Okay, so I'm gonna take a wild guess. Caleb, have you seen this movie?
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it paid off for us. No, I have not seen it.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, sorry, Brian. T2 does not make.
I
All right, going back to Ryan for his next nomination.
Oh, okay. This one is kind of a swing for the fences for me because this jumps back to like really nostalgic. I'm going to have to go with during the days of Disney's animation, where they had a good string of movies, and I had to research, and this movie actually did get a theatrical release, and it's a sequel to The Rescuers called The Rescuers Down Under.
That's my next pick. That was literally my. I thought nobody's gonna say that.
Okay, keep going.
For me, when I saw the Rescuer movies, of course, I was very young, so I had both of them on VHS. So the Rescue movies, I loved the tale of the Rescuers and how the two characters were just like, I love the dynamic between the characters. There's the story, which honestly, looking back at it, there is some definite dark undertones in this story to where when I was a 6 and 7-year-old kid, I'm going, how the hell did my parents allow me to watch this? And Rescuers Down Under even goes into more grim territory. So, and I looked at the release dates, it's more of like an 11 or 12-year gap. I mean, but that was when I thought of the original evaluations. But still, I love the sequel, and I think it deserves to be on this list.
Okay, so The Rescuers Down Under. That's actually a really good pick. And yes, the original Rescuers was, I believe, 77.
I want to say 77 and 90, I think.
Yeah, the 77 and 90. So it does qualify. And it was theatrically released. There's no dispute about that. So yeah, this is a very, very valid pick. Going to Brian.
I first of all want to give you points just for bringing that one up, because I think we have a weird group here, and then none of us thought the other people would bring it up. And I really like Rescuers Down Under. It's better than the original. It continues the story of the original. The animation, I mean, the opening scene with the eagle flying around with the kid, that's some of the best hand-drawn animation Disney's ever done. It looked beautiful. That being said, I cannot make it top 7. But I do love the movie, and I'm glad you brought it up for the conversation.
Yeah.
Since he didn't get a vote, I'm going to go to Caleb, because I believe he's probably seen this. Caleb?
I've definitely seen it. I'm torn because it's not hard to be better than the original when the original is such dog shit.
Jesus.
So
Wow. Wow. Okay.
I hate the original Rescuers. So I'm gonna give it a no. Also because it's top 7, maybe top 10. It could get that 10 spot. So yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna say no.
All right, so that is 2 votes. 2 votes against Rescuers Down Under. You know what? This is because of positivity. We're gonna go to Chris first.
First of all,
Please.
Okay. This movie is I'm not scrambling. Yes, absolutely. I think it's a film that's completely overlooked. It came out right after The Little Mermaid. I think there was no demand for it. Nobody particularly liked the original Rescuers. Certainly nobody was wanting to see a sequel. But it shows Disney taking a risk at a time when they were not taking risks. It broke with their streak of classic European-based, white people folk tales, and it took.
Instead, we get White Mouse folk tale.
But there's a scene where I think like Bernard, a mouse who's been taught how to hypnotize a pig by a kangaroo. That scene alone sells it for me.
The antagonist scared the hell out of me when I saw that sequel. For Down Under, the antagonist scared the hell out of me. I remember.
No, so yeah, absolutely for me. I think it's a fantastic
one. Yes,
movie, and I defend my pick.
I decided to let that come back to me because I did want to hear some positives about Rescue Down Under before, I sadly had to shoot it down. This is a great pick. This is one I didn't even consider, and it is one that I do really like. Especially, I do like it more than the first Rescuers, and I like the first Rescuers. I don't know where all the hate came from, but yeah, I just think there are. I'm gonna make that argument. There are other sequels I would rather get on top 7 instead of Rescuers Down Under. Yeah, top 10 I might make it. Top 7, So that's it for Rescuers Down Under. So now we are going back to Chris for his next nomination.
Do we get a third pick?
What?
If it gets to it,
Is he gonna go down again?
Yeah, I mean we keep going until we get to the top 7.
Yeah, we got 3 left. Yeah.
Then I think there needs to be a Disney. We got a Pixar. I think there needs to be a Disney on this. I'm going to go Mary Poppins Returns.
Oh, interesting.
This is a personal thing for me. Mary Poppins is in my top 5 favorite movies of all time, and I was terrified going into this. The reviews were not fantastic. Everybody praised Emily Blunt, but I was a little bit nervous about it. And there are flaws in this movie. This movie is not a perfect movie. It's certainly not in the best 7 sequel ever made as a film, but in the way it captures what people felt when the original one came out. The magic of Disney is there throughout. Yes, there are Disney tropes. The parents are dead, and the parents are in trouble. The wife is dead, and Mary Poppins returns to save the day. And Lin-Manuel Miranda's London accent is almost as bad as Dick Van Dyke's. But halfway through the movie, that just sort of went away. I literally floated up onto a cloud with this movie, and I was enraptured for the rest of it. It was Disney at its finest in terms of the magic that it makes the audience feel, however old the audience is.
Yeah, I think I said almost as bad as Dick Van Dyke's. But, well, there was a movie, Dick Van Dyke's accent.
At least
I think it's kind of bad on purpose. Dick Van Dyke.
Sure.
All right, so Mary Poppins Returns is up for top 7. Going to Ryan first.
I was surprised. I had this on my honorable mention, though, mainly because I didn't think this would be brought up. And I saw this, when I saw Mary Poppins Returns, I was worried myself. And I saw the movie. Emily Blunt's fantastic. They do some very good, smart things with Mary Poppins. They don't try to They could have did a simple Disney movie where she shows up and fixes everything, makes the children happy. But there are beats in this movie where she allows the children. Well, she doesn't really straightforward teach kids lessons, but yeah, they're showing like dark moments, like the kids are actually feeling alive. Sorry, I don't want to get too much in this movie, but you know what? I'm gonna put a yes on this. I think it's something that should be brought up, at least for debate. So yeah, I'm gonna put a yes.
All right, so that is one yes. Remember, Mary Poppins Returns. I'm gonna go to Brian next.
Oh, why do you do this to me? Well, like Ryan, I had it on an honorable mentions list because, I enjoyed the movie and it did very well kind of capture the feeling of the original. And this is 54 years later, I think it was.
54, yeah.
54.
But like Chris himself said, it is not one of the 7 best sequels. And while I respect it for the things it did, I cannot vote for it for the top 7. So I'm going to say no.
All right, so that is 1 vote for, 1 vote against Mary Poppins Returns. I'm going to go to me next. And yeah, Mary Poppins Returns, a charming little movie. And yeah, Emily Blunt's fantastic. I don't think there's anybody working in Hollywood that could have done that role better than her. Lin-Manuel Miranda, despite the fact that he's very clearly an American doing a lot of British accent, he's really good. The 2 kids playing the Banks children, Ben Whishaw and Emily Mortimer, fantastic. Love them. I'm gonna edge towards no, though. I think the problem with it, I mean, people give Force Awakens shit for being a retread. I think this is more of a retread on the original Mary Poppins than Force Awakens is of the original Star Wars. And the songs, the animated sequences are great. The sequences are great. The songs, not all that memorable. At least not as memorable as the first one. No, it's a high bar, but that's still something to keep in mind. So,
I didn't mention the songs. They're not that good.
All right, so I'm gonna let Caleb break this tie. Now I know, Caleb, listen to me. Look at me. Listen.
No, you know where I'm swinging. You know what I'm
Okay,
saying?
now do not let the fact that this
Chance,
has the quote unquote
Chance,
greatest
Chance,
rapper of all
Chance.
time.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
hold my seat to this.
My God, Lin-Manuel Miranda is in this movie.
Shit.
The man I worship everything he does. This is the worst thing he's done in his career.
Oh shit.
His performance is good. The music is the best part of the movie. It is a retread. It is a no. Triple Little Light, fantastic, and nowhere to go but up. My two favorite songs from this one. Only one of them is going to get nominated for the Oscar and not win, and he still will not be a PGOT, and that is a mistake. But still, that is a no.
Did he even write these songs?
No,
No, he did
I
not.
don't think so.
He
No,
performed,
he
he
made-
performed Triple Little Light, fantastic. So that
Right, but even if it was nominated and didn't win, he still wouldn't be an EGOT, so it doesn't matter. It's a wash.
In
So-
terms of the worst thing he's done in his career, he's done Hamilton, In the Heights, and this. I mean, come on.
Hamilton is the greatest thing ever done to Broadway, sir.
He also did the music for Moana.
And the music from Moana.
Okay, well, we can talk about Lin-Manuel Miranda's career all night long, but we got to get on with the list. So, Mary Poppins Returns does not make top 7. Back to Caleb.
Yay!
You guys have
Okay,
been
so I'm
happy
going to go ahead and I'm going to throw a layup at y'all. It's called Creed. Creed is the best film in the Rocky franchise. It outdoes Rocky. And if we want to talk about a sequel that came out 10 plus years later, that isn't a big spectacle film, but a character piece, Creed is the better one to nominate onto this list. Michael B. Jordan, fantastic. Sylvester Stallone gives the best performance he's given as Rocky since the original.
he was nominated. So
Yeah, he was nominated, which he should have been. He's outstanding. Ludwig Göransson provides a fantastic score. Every fight in this movie feels real. If every hit thrown, you almost feel it. It is great. Michael B. Jordan is a star. Ryan Coogler, I think this is the movie, even before Black Panther, that solidified him for me as being probably the next Spielberg. So yeah, absolutely, Creed.
All right, so Creed is up for top 7. Gonna go to Chris first this time.
Absolutely. I mean, it's an absolute slam dunk of a movie. I did not care about the Rocky franchise whatsoever before Creed. I enjoyed the first Rocky. I was entertained by some of the other sequels. The Creed was the first movie in that franchise where I sat back and went, this is filmmaking at its best. It settled Ryan Coogler as one of the finest directors working today. Absolutely a top 7 pick.
All right, so that is 1 vote for Creed, going to Ryan next.
I was surprised this was not brought up any sooner, honestly. I mean, I had Creed immediately on my list, but I wanted to at least bring up the argument of Rocky Balboa. But Creed was fantastic. I still listen to the soundtrack of this movie, and I also listen to the soundtrack of the second one. So yes, Creed is on the list.
All right, so that is it. Creed makes it on top 7. Brian, you and I did not get votes. What would you have said?
I'm kind of the same place Chris was, although not quite as enthusiastic in that, the first movie is good. I saw the rest and liked them to different degrees, just as kind of mindless entertainment. But Creed really made me care more again about a franchise that I really didn't care about for a couple decades there. And in terms of what we were talking about earlier, and that you want to build off the original story and stuff, this did an excellent job of doing that, taking it in a whole different direction. So I would have been on the fence, so I'm glad it was decided for me. So
All right, well, I
we'll
will
say yes.
I
We
will
can call it
say,
clean sweep. Why not?
I will say, I don't think Creed does the original Rocky, well, because Creed does the original Rocky, like that's another one that's pretty much almost carbon copy of the original. But they do, but Coogler does manage to inject new life. He's one of my favorite up and coming directors working right now. I think the dude's a master of the craft, and yeah, this one, like, he's had a fantastic streak. He's one of those guys who you could argue every single one of his movies as maybe his best. And yeah, Creed is fantastic. Great performances across the board. Just such a great new character of Adonis Creed, a new angle we haven't seen quite in the Rocky franchise, or really just boxing movies in general. So he's a very unique character, and yeah, I think definite entry into the top 7. Now we're coming back to me, and I'm gonna hit you guys with a franchise that has been going around since the 90s and has been upping its game every single time. except for one sequel when it completely downgraded its game for things on that side of its done. So, dun 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 dun. I'm going to Mission Impossible. Now you could argue any, except for two, you could argue any Mission Impossible sequel. But I'm going with one from last year. I'm going Mission Impossible Fallout. Now, Fallout, I would compare to Fury Road, one of the greatest action movies of this decade. You have some of the most breathtaking set pieces I've seen in an action movie in quite some time. To the point where, like, when I was watching it and I saw it in IMAX for the first time, I literally forgot to breathe at certain points of the film. Tom Cruise giving 125% like he does in everything. The dude is awesome and charismatic and badass in this movie. He has a fair amount of acting. Henry Cavill showcasing the mustache that killed Justice League in its full force and glory. And yeah, the dude proving that he can in fact act. He was actually very good in this movie. You get the entire crew: Simon Pegg, Ving Rhames, both great. Both get some really good scenes. Not Jeremy Renner, because screw him. And furthermore, I think this really does a lot to this challenges Ethan Hunt in a way that he hadn't been before, just because, you know, you had him in this movie and he's having to face the consequence of his actions in the previous film, which is something that hadn't quite been done in Mission Impossible yet. We hadn't seen something in which, you know, that has like major, like long-lasting stakes. I think this movie is awesome. It was one of my favorite movies from last year, and I definitely think it's the best Mission Impossible sequel, and I think it should be on this list. Going to Caleb first.
You picked the right one. I was worried about which one you were going to pick, because depending on the movie that you picked, I was going to vote no. But Fallout, I could almost argue that with every Mission Impossible film since Mission Impossible, that the only thing that was connective about them is which part of Ethan Hunt's cast came back and the name. Fallout was the first one that was an actual sequel in my eyes, that actually like picked up the story, continued it, built upon it. The action is breathtaking. Everything that happens in this movie feels world-ending, whereas every other Mission Impossible movie always just felt like oh, we got to stop this person for this reason, and every movie was formulaic until we got to Fallout, which actually kind of builds on the franchise and continues stories. So it's a hell yes for me for Fallout.
All right, so that was one hell yes for Fallout. Going to Ryan.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Fallout is definitely one of the like closest to sequels, because every Mission Impossible, it's a different story, a different take on Ethan Hunt. Honestly, seriously, I go back at some of the Mission Impossible movies. They all project Ethan at different points in his life, in his career, and Fallout, a great follow-up to Rogue Nation. I mean, for Christ's sake, when they did that, when they brought back the wife character, and I saw her in Fallout, my jaw stayed open for 3 minutes before I got back into the movie. I thought, seriously, they bring her back into this? And I thought they were trying to introduce like Rebecca Ferguson as new love interest, but I like how it plays more into the depths and the complexity of Ethan Hunt as a character. So that's a yes for me.
All right, so that is it. Mission Impossible Fallout cannot fight the friction to get the top 7. Or, well, it can fight the friction. Sorry. It fought the friction to get the top 7. Unless there wasn't friction at all. Chris, Brian didn't get votes. Chris, what would you say about Mission Impossible Fallout?
Well, after the reference you just made to fight the friction, I think Mike Kalinowski paid you to include this one.
Hey, Mike did not pay me anything to talk about Tom Cruise.
No, you know what? Listening to you and to Caleb, I was trying to think to reasons not to vote yes for this. And there's a few. You know, the plot device is a MacGuffin, is your usual world-ending threat. Some of the moments in between the action beats are not all that great, but at the same time, the action beats are just that good.
Yeah.
And it's what Ryan was saying. It coalesces the Mission Impossible franchise in a way that has never been done before. You know, the White Queen, I think her name is, who's the daughter of the White Widow, the daughter of the villain from Mission Impossible 3.
The Return of the
One. Sorry, okay. I need to revisit my Mission Impossibles, but
that's okay.
It made the entire franchise live in its own universe, which I think a lot of action franchises forget to do, or do too much, like Jason Bourne. So yes, for me, I think it is. I would put it below Mad Max Fury Road, but it is one of the best action films of the last decade.
All right, well, I'll take that. And Brian, was it a clean sweep or was there friction?
A little bit of friction, tiny bit of friction. No, I really enjoy the movie. I just watched it last night, actually, for the first time since I saw it in theaters, and I really enjoy the movie. and the action was great. It ended up just outside my top 10. I think it was like my number 11 for the year. So I have no problem with being on the list, but if you come to me earlier, I might have voted no.
All right. Well, Brian, there's one more spot in the top 7. Do you have the movie to fill that spot?
Probably not.
We'll see.
Well, when we get down to this last spot, that's when we get to the point where everybody starts voting against everything just because they want their own thing on there.
I go either way.
So I might as well swing for the fences here. I don't know which one to go with. You know what? This is going to be unpopular, but I don't care. We have action, we have dramas, we have sci-fi. What we don't have on this list is a comedy. I think there should be at least one comedy on here. One that's
choose your words very wisely.
Oh, I should probably stop now then. One that I think really surprised everyone with how good it turned out to be was 22 years after the original, Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle. No, hear me out here. Now,
I'm not judging it. I like it.
I was not a huge fan of the original. It was okay, the Robin Williams version. But this movie, which nobody asked for, nobody wanted, when they heard about it, nobody cared about it. But it came out and it took a whole fresh new take on it, as well as brought it to a new generation. It was respectful of the original, but then it still continued the story. I thought the adult cast and the younger cast all did a great job. And I just thought it was funny as hell. And I mean, apparently I'm not alone, because up against Last Jedi, it still made like $400 million or something. So that's my nomination.
All right, so Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle is up for top 7. Going to me. Now, I was there for what you were going to say, and you picked a comedy sequel I actually like. I really do like Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle. Building off of a shaky foundation, because you're right, the original Jumanji, it's weird, it's dark, it doesn't hold up all that well. There are some really good things about it, some really interesting conflicts to try to tackle. But like, yeah, this one really upped it. The entire cast, Kevin Hart, The Rock, still having great chemistry off of Central Intelligence. Jack Black is awesome in the movie. Karen Gillan's great, showing a different side of her that we haven't seen before. Here's my problem, though. You take out that one scene where they say Alan Parrish built the treehouse in the middle of the movie. It's a reboot. I think it doesn't feel quite like a sequel. So if I can't deny Split and give this a pass for the same thing. So it's a no for me. Gonna go to Chris, who didn't get a vote last time.
Yeah, I was actually going to make that argument about Alan Parrish. Now, I love the original Jumanji. I grew up with that movie. It is one of my guilty pleasures. And when they announced this movie, especially with Kevin Hart, who I think is very funny on stage, but I've never found funny, particularly in a movie, I was nervous. And I think he always plays the same character. And I think this movie was on the cusp of greatness. It's a great movie. I enjoyed it. I laughed way more than I thought it was. But it falls a gnat's wing short of being a great movie. I think it does fall back on a few too many, toilet humor and sort of a bit too easy jokes sometimes to warrant that spot. Sorry, Brian.
All right, so that's 2 votes against Jumanji. I'm gonna get some positivity, and I'm gonna go to Ryan next.
With the positivity,
he discombobulated.
Yeah, this is because like Chris. I grew up watching Jumanji, and actually, I was able to play the actual board game Jumanji with my siblings at my grandma's house. So this movie did have like a very close knit to my childhood. So when that sequel came out, I was incredibly worried, especially with Kevin Hart. He's played a few of the characters, but this movie really surprised me. I mean, every actor in that movie, maybe an asterisk over Kevin Hart, plays the exact opposite of what their character is in the movie. Like The Rock's playing a nerd, Karen Gillan's playing an outsider, and Jack Black, he's playing a freaking a valley girl diva who's obsessed with their phone. And I love how all their portrayals were fantastic. I mean, there is a weakness when it came to the villain in the movie and how, but still, I'm going to say this surprised me. I loved it, and it's getting a sequel. There's room, there's already production of a sequel of this movie. So on those merits, I'm going to say yes.
For the record, I will say Kevin Hart does play the same character plays in the last step, but here it actually works because him outside the game, he's actually like a big dude. So him reacting to him being so small, actually works in that sense. But anyway, we're split. Caleb, over to you.
Ooh, I feel so powerful. Okay. So my argument against the Alan Parrish thing is I think the Alan Parrish thing makes it a sequel. If it was a straight reboot, there would be no anything to Alan Parrish. Jumanji this would be the first time we really get that game and everything. I think the fact that Alan Parrish's name and he built the treehouse is a sequel, therefore, because he did it when he was in the game. Because there's those years where we don't have Alan Parrish in the game. That's what happened. So that for me solidifies it as a sequel rather than a reboot. I'm gonna give it a yes because this is better than Jumanji in my mind. I don't love the original as much as everyone else, and upon seeing it, this was very fun. This was not at all what I expected. It had heart, it had humor. Yeah, the villain's weak, but I didn't really care about the villain. It was more about the chemistry of the four people in front of me, and I really enjoyed it, and I cannot wait for the sequel.
All right, well, shit, that settles it. Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle is the last movie to make the top 7. So, now is the point where we go to our mentions. For me, the next movie I was going to throw up was next one I was going to go was a sequel that finally made a franchise good. I was going to go Fast 5 as my next vote.
That was an honorable mention for me.
Yeah, well, that was going to be my next vote, but to put freaking Jumanji on here.
Hey, if I had known the criteria, then I might have thought of that one and put it on myself.
All right, well, I apologize. That was my fault. Other ones I'll throw out there: Dawn of the Dead, which came out literally 10 years after Night of the Living Dead, which I think is the superior sequel. Color of Money, which a lot of people forget is a sequel to The Hustler. Deathly Hallows Part 2, which came out exactly 10 years after Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. X-Men Days of Future Past. One that I would have liked to make the list. I don't think it would have. Army of Darkness, the third Evil Dead film. 2018's Halloween, the best sequel to that was ever made. One that I know it wouldn't have gone on before midnight. Barbershop: The Next Cut, I think a really underrated comedy sequel.
I had that on my honorable mentions.
I think the vastly misunderstood and underappreciated Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Star Trek First Contact, that's the only kind of sequel one I could have put on there. And one that wouldn't qualify for this list, but I do want to give a shout out to Superman 2, The Donner Cut. Good. All right, so going to Ryan, any other I'll mentions?
Well, other than Fast 5, Barbershop: The Next Cut, let me see. Halloween 2018 I had there as well. I knew this wasn't going to be on the list. I put these two down. Jurassic World, I knew it wasn't going to be on the list because it follows directly from Jurassic Park. And I was thinking of that gap. And then another one I thought of the fourth Die Hard movie. Because
God, no!
I knew these two weren't going to be on. That's why I was never going to bring them up.
I would have voted for both, for the record.
Yeah. I would have voted for Jurassic World.
Yeah, and I would have fought for this movie, but I had a feeling it would not. It was going to be the fourth Rambo movie, and
Rambo. I would have given that a yes. I would have definitely given that a yes.
That movie is just straight up action, rated R. So we are seeing like. Almost like it feels like nostalgic back to the Rambo of First Blood Part 2, but this is a more grizzled Rambo, and this is where Sylvester Stallone, like with Rocky Balboa, was trying to make his characters more like more seasoned, more wise, to where they're almost separate from the world, but at the same time they're still like connected to it. And sure, the story kind of gets muddled in the middle of it, but it's kind of like a freaking action chase, and I loved watching it throughout. And the final act of it, that huge gun battle, I can watch it with popcorn. I won't get bored of it.
All right, so there we go. Caleb, any honorable mentions for you?
I mean, Star Wars: The Last Jedi is the superior Star Wars film that should have been on the list.
It is.
Last Jedi should have been on instead of Force Awakens. That's my only regret. Just wish Chance was braver.
That's a hybrid.
Even if I wasn't, it still would have made it.
I mean, me, you, and Ryan would have voted for it, right?
Okay,
right?
Fine.
I would have voted for it. Maybe like as a hybrid, Force Awakens and Jedi. But
there's three right there. We would have won. You just had to be the braver one. But in honorable mentions, I had Tron Legacy because I personally like Tron Legacy more than Tron.
Oh God,
soundtrack is killer though.
And I also had this is a guilty pleasure, Men in Black 3.
Men in Black 3 is pretty good.
Oh
Pretty good.
I
yeah.
like Men in Black 3. I think it's the best Men in Black sequel.
Agreed.
100%.
But that's
And-
when you're up against two. There's not much competition.
Exactly. Which is why I didn't nominate it. But I think it's a fun
Forgot
time
about
travel
Men in
movie.
Black 3.
And then shouts out to Incredibles 2, and I gotta stay on brand. Cars 3.
Ugh, God. All right. Chris, any other mentions for you?
Yeah, a few. Brian mentioned all the genres that we had and the genre that we didn't have. We don't have any B movies on here, and for me, my guiltiest pleasure is Escape from L.A. Snake Plissken returns. The demented plot is absolutely one of my favorite films. I watched that with great pleasure. Wall Street 2, Money Never Sleeps. Not a perfect movie, but Gordon Gekko is just such an iconic character. And seeing that like around the 2008 financial crisis,
If Shia
it was
LaBeouf,
boring to a lot of people, but sorry.
if Shia LaBeouf wasn't in this, I would have put it like in my honorable mentions.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's difficult
That
to
was-
consider anything with Shia
That was
LaBeouf.
2008, wasn't it?
Yeah.
2008, the year Shia LaBeouf killed franchises.
No, it came out in 2010. Sorry, it was
Oh, it did?
about 2008 financial
never mind.
crisis. Yeah.
Okay, anything else?
Yeah, you're gonna help me here, but Blues Brothers 2000. I know why people detest it, but I think it hits enough of the beats of the originals. The music is wonderful. It goes to Louisiana, which is somewhere I love. So I have like a sort of thing with Louisiana and being in the bayou. Yes, it shits on a lot of the mythology of the original, but I still love it. And finally, Fantasia 2000. Fantasia is a masterpiece, and I think Fantasia 2000 equally.
Hey, John, how do we respect the original Blues Brothers? Oh yeah, what do? We destroyed the orphanage. In the first
It
10
felt-
minutes.
I felt James Brown, Aretha Franklin, and Erykah Badu were great musical talents were wasted in this movie.
Oh yeah, the big jazz band. I can't remember the name of the band, but that team was really good.
Yeah.
And Brian, your last one. Any hour mentions you have?
I would have voted for Jurassic World. I would have voted for Live Free or Die Hard. If I had realized they were eligible when I was making my list and thinking of them, I would have probably nominated Fast 5 and X-Men Days of Future Past.
I would have voted for
a
that
couple-
too.
A couple others I had Clerks 2.
Oh, yeah.
Drunken Master 2, which is kind of a reboot, kind of a sequel. And I'm going to make a lot of enemies here, but I actually like the Thing prequel but better than the original.
Oh, well,
Not a car-
Oh, with
the
Mary
prequel,
Elizabeth Winstead? Oh.
I haven't seen
Okay.
it.
Not like the CG of the Thing in that movie. I did not like the CG use in that movie. That's what killed it for me.
And the last one I wasn't sure if qualified, so I didn't bring it up, was 10 years after Iron Man was Infinity War. But I wasn't sure if
Nah.
it was, so
Nah, I wouldn't have counted that.
It. God.
All right, so we have our top 7. So our top 7 as it sits:
Yep.
Mad Max Fury Road, Force Awakens, Blade Runner 2049, Toy Story 3,
Mhm.
Creed, Mission Impossible Fallout, and Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle. Like all politics aside, this is a good list of sequels.
Oh, this is gonna be hard.
We come to the often easy but very rarely difficult part of the show where we have to kick 2 of these off the list. This is the antithesis of round 1. What we're going to do is we are going to nominate a sequel to jump off the list. Same thing, 3/5 votes gets it off the list, and we're going to do that until we get to our final 5. So I'm going to go first with the movie that I really don't think should be on here. I'm going to go with Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle. Not that I don't like the movie. I think it is a really, really good film. It's really great action comedy. The thing is, though, I think these other 6 are more sequel than these other ones, or than Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle. So I'm putting up that one to be axed first. Going to Brian, who put it on the list.
I'll actually agree with you. I mean, while I think it definitely deserves top 7, I think that it would not make the top 5 if I had to narrow this down.
All right, so that's 2 votes against it. And Chris, you want to just put this to bed?
Sorry, you said Chris?
Yes, Chris.
Yeah, sorry, it got out for a second. Absolutely, it doesn't deserve to be on that list. It's a fun movie. I voted against it, but yeah, it's nowhere near on the heel of it doesn't have anything truly original. It doesn't have anything that will make it truly stand out in a generation or so from now.
All right, so that is it. Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle is the first movie to be axed from top 7. have 6 more movies. Ryan, Caleb, you didn't get votes. What would you have said? Caleb?
I'd have kept it because there's for the reasons that Chris said that he would get rid of it is one of the reasons why I think one of these other ones should get out of here. So yeah.
And Ryan, what would you have said about Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle?
Yeah, I would have contested for a while, but ultimately, in the end, I would have said no. I mean, it's a great sequel, yeah, but with the list we have and for top 5, I would have put it as a number 6, maybe, but no. Yeah, I would have said no.
All right, well, because you, Caleb, didn't get votes, and I despise giving Caleb any power over anything, I'm going to go to you, Ryan, for the next cut.
Oh, wow. Okay. Hard list here. I guess if I really have to choose, I'm going to nominate Fury Road. I love this movie, and I will watch it over and over. But I remember when this came out, there was some definite this was like divided amongst fan bases. Like people were thinking this wasn't a true Mad Max movie, and bringing up to Chris's argument how Tom Hardy wasn't as memorable as Max, to where everyone mostly kept saying this movie didn't feel like a Mad Max movie. It was a Furiosa movie. And although it could be the same argument could be the same of The Road Warrior, I guess on a few of those merits, I will have to nominate Mad Max for the cut.
Okay, I'm just putting it on record. If this leaves the list, Ryan's never invited back.
Oh, God.
So, Mad Max Fury Road is up on the chopping block. I put it on the list, and I say it goes on to top 5. I think just on merit, just on craft, I think this definitely needs to stay on the top 5. Brian, back me up.
Absolutely, it belongs to number 1, not just top 5.
Okay.
The problem is, I'm pretty sure that our votes don't count because Ryan was either yes vote and he changed his mind here.
Yeah, so we're gonna.
I'm pretty sure.
I love this movie. I just when it comes, I want to be devil's advocate. I want to be open minded here.
All right.
I would just appeal to Chris and Caleb and say that even if you don't think it should be number 1, I think it should be top 5. Come on.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's pray the metal gods as I go to Caleb next.
This is tough because I think this is not the one I was talking about that needed to leave. If Jumanji hadn't already gone off, I would have put this one at 6, and a different one at 7. But I think the different one should go at 6, and this should move on to the top 5. So I'm going to say Fury Road stays, and I really hope I can get the other one off.
Okay.
Oh, thank Christ.
Okay.
All right.
Because I like Fury Road better than the other one. So,
Surprised me tonight.
This killed me. I didn't want to put it, but the movies like going off the top of my head. I mean, I love Fury Road. It's just some of these movies are more rewatchable in my opinion.
All right. So that's it. Fury Road stays. Chris, what would you have said?
I'm actually going to do a bit of a switcheroo because I'm going to vote yes to keep Mad Max Fury Road, despite the fact that I voted no to include it in the list in the first place. And if I get a chance to nominate, I'm going to nominate a movie that I said yes for.
Oh my gosh!
I'll give you.
Are we going to be in the same place?
I'll give you that ground. Right.
We're not going to be on the same place. You are going to despise me if I go before you.
I swear to God. Oh no!
Brace yourselves, everyone. Brace yourselves.
I'm taking the view that the top 5 sequels should be iconic in another 10 years or more. And I think Mad Max Fury Road will be. It will remain as a pinnacle of the Mad Max franchise, if not the best. And honestly, it is the best. So yes, Mad Max stays.
Well, Chris, I'm giving you the floor. You get the next cut.
Oh my God.
I have never seen in my lifetime a truly great Star Wars film. Never.
What the fuck?
I'm putting up The Force Awakens.
Wow, really?
Because of the point that Brian made and that I picked up on, that any competently made Star Wars film would have generated that hype, would have rebirthed the franchise, would have given rise to a new hope, so to speak. And I don't think that Force Awakens on its own merit has that as a film. I think it just has it because it is the Star Wars film that came at the time that it came. And I think it is not a greatest 5 sequel on its own.
All right, so Force Awakens on the chopping block. Brian, you put this on the list. Man, people are attacking. Now, the people are attacking your picks this round. So, Brian,
I'm used to it. I think it belongs to stay. I mean, is it the best of the Star Wars movies? No, some of the original trilogy is better, but it definitely belongs on this list of the top 5 sequels. So I say it stays.
All right. I'm gonna go to me next. Why? Well, this was Last Jedi, so it would have been a lot much different. I'm still gonna say Force Awakens stays. So Brian and I are in the same corner. I'm going to Caleb.
He loves the power of the dramatic pause.
Here's the thing. This isn't in my top 5 Star Wars movies.
That's crazy.
This is tempting. It's tempting to punch Force Awakens right in the face off this list. But there's one movie that I think shouldn't be in the top 5, and Force Awakens deserves to be more than that one. So I'm going to keep Force Awakens in the top 5.
Interesting.
Okay.
So, oh no, that's settled. Force Awakens is locked in for top 5.
All right.
Ryan, what would you have said?
I would have said yes to Force Awakens. I mean, I understand it does feel in some ways a beat for beat, but at the same time, when this came out, people still had the taste of the prequels. And as far as, yes, Brian, almost any Star Wars movie could have brought that back, but it didn't bring back the hype that came with The Last Jedi. Because between Force Awakens and of course,
I didn't say that. Chris added that part.
Oh, you did? Okay, then I'm putting words in people's mouth. But I'm just saying, I would have voted for Force Awakens because for me, being a Star Wars fan at the time was hard because I was that person who was going to debate. I would have fought for the prequels and the original trilogy. Like, I didn't want to hate any Star Wars movie. I would just hate how they were executed. And The Force Awakens felt to me like it was a good return to form. And not only bringing new characters for another generation involved, but for me, it finally made me want to go with not only do I love Force Awakens, but I'm going to put my faith in Disney with their direction. Now, they weakened it with Solo, but still, The Force Awakens, I would have kept on that list.
All right, so I'm going to regret this. Caleb, what's the one you want to knock off the list?
Oh, dear.
It's been a long time coming. Blade Runner 2049 is a slog. It is visually beautiful, but it is such a slog. And if we're going to keep one or the other, Fury Road or Blade Runner, I would rather have Fury Road because at least it's an entertaining visual masterpiece, whereas this is not entertaining. It's just a thing with Jared Leto and an obligatory Harrison Ford and great cinematography from Roger Deakins, great visual effects. But the movie itself, it's not a top 5 sequels of all time, especially not with the list we have remaining. So I'm going to vote for Blade Runner 2049 to get the boot.
All right, so Blade Runner 2049 is up for getting kicked off. Chris, you put this movie up. Does it stay or does it go?
I mean, the first thing I'm going to need is Caleb Coho's mail address because I'm going to send him books that are more than 20 pages long. I'm going to send him TV shows that have more than 4 characters. Blade Runner is not a slog. Blade Runner is indeed, it's a slow-paced movie. It is an artwork. It is an art piece that built on an existing mythology. It built on a world that had never been put on screen. It built on the vision of humanity's future that Philip K. Dick imagined all those years ago, and it did so triumphantly.
All right, so that is one vote for Blade Runner to stay. I believe I know where Brian's going to go, so I'm going to go to him next.
Yeah, I'd get rid of it. I mean, it's a competent sequel. It is not a great sequel. It's beautiful, but
okay. Going to Ryan next. Ryan?
With 2049, it took because with the original Blade Runner, it took the idea of focusing on Deckard, him eliminating replicants, and Blade in 2049, it not only switched the idea of replicants being now. I'm sorry. I'm gonna vote for it to stay because it does a complete flip because it's not only a different. It's not only the future, but it's a different generation that followed the original movie because in the first one, replicants were being hunted to extinction, but in this one, replicants are kind of more of the norm. They're just getting rid of older models. It kind of almost feels like a commentary on technology for us because we want newer models of new stuff, and then we start discarding old models. And I kind of dig the slow pace because it gives more space with more character interactions and more character stories and more character depth. So I would keep that on the list.
All right, going to me next. This is hard because I'm looking at 4 movies I really liked. But okay, here's the thing. I'm thinking if I knock Blade Runner off, is it going to be easier for me to knock something else off instead? I don't think so. So as much as I do love Blade Runner 2049, much as I was singing its praises when the nominations were going around, sadly I got to give it the axe. Blade Runner 2049, you ain't going on the top 5, buddy.
Yeah.
Ah, that hurts. That really hurts.
This is why I don't. This is why I don't podcast with Americans.
This is what I nominated.
This is the only reason.
This is the only reason.
Now,
Right, well.
now I don't feel like a bad guy for nominating Fury Road.
All right, well, here we go. So we have our top 5. Our top 5 as it sits: Mad Max Fury Road, Star Wars Force Awakens, Toy Story 3, Creed, and Mission Impossible Fallout. So now what we have to do is we are going into the rankings portion of the show. A spot on the list is going to be up for voting, and we're all going to write down on a whiteboard paper, whatever we have, what movie we believe deserve to go on that spot. We're going to go 5, 4, 3, and then the number 1 movie on the list. So if you all write down what should go in the number 5 spot.
I hope if we do this again next year, I can add Bad Boys for Life.
Men in Black
Yeah.
International.
Yeah,
Oh.
Bad Boys for Life is guaranteed. Bad Boys for Life, Top Gun Maverick is also guaranteed a spot on this list when we do a redux. So, anyways, I think we're all ready. I'm gonna go first. Mission Impossible. Also, sorry, Tom, with a little teary face. Mission Impossible Fallout. So, going to Ryan next.
Yeah, for number 5, I put Mission Impossible Fallout. I love it how it's a direct sequel, but ultimately there's been more movies before it.
Okay, Caleb.
Mad Max Fury Road.
Ooh, Chris.
Mission Impossible Fallout.
And that seals the deal. Mission Impossible Fallout is the number 5 spot on the list.
Yeah.
Brian, did you have Fallout, or do you want to save your vote for the next round?
I did not have Fallout.
Ooh, okay. So save your vote. We will see what you have when we come around to you next. So now you should write down what goes in number 4 spot on the list. Or I should say Chris and Ryan. Caleb, I know he's not going to change.
Nope. I'm a
Didn't think.
stubborn bastard.
Yep, I know. All right. I think we are all set. So I'm going to go to Brian first.
Toy Story 3.
Ooh. Wow,
That's it?
didn't see that coming. Chris,
Mad Max Fury Road.
Caleb,
Mad Max Fury Road.
Brian.
Creed.
What the?
Ooh. Well, someone's got to change their vote.
I know.
Because I also have Creed.
Oh,
Brian.
I thought it was gonna be me.
Brian. Brian.
it's me?
Brian.
You, Brian.
Brian.
Well, let's just write Creed
$20
now.
PayPal. $20 PayPal for Creed.
Well,
Vote for Fury Road.
I'm not cheap enough to try to bribe you. I just appeal to the fact that you're the only person on this panel who seems to have a shred of human decency.
All right, Creed. Brian has spoken. Creed is number 4 movie on the list.
Okay.
So now we go to number 3 spot on the list.
My number 1's gone.
All right. I think we should all be ready by now.
Yeah.
Gonna go to me first. Gonna seem very contradictory to everything I stand for in the world, but Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Going to Ryan.
I'm right there with you. Force Awakens.
Caleb.
Hey. Never mind.
It's coming to me again.
Chris.
Star Wars: Force Awakens.
Oh, that's 3 up. So
Oh,
Force
that's
Awakens
three.
is the number 3 movie on the list.
Why do I keep erasing this? It's not changing.
I don't know why. I don't know why you keep doing it. Brian, I'm not gonna ask what you had because we will easily find out. Because now we have to vote for the number 1 movie on the
Oh, well,
list.
number 1 now. That's right.
Yes.
Number 1.
You gotta make me a race. Jeez.
Well, actually, never mind. I'm glad I erased it.
Ooh.
All right.
Okay.
All right. So I believe we should be ready by now. I'm going to go to Brian.
Number 1, Fury Road.
All right. Going to Chris.
Toy Story 3.
Caleb.
Toy Story 3.
I'm going to go to me next because I want our guest of honor or our new guest to round this out because I have Mad Max Fury Road. So, Ryan, is it going to be Toy Story 3? Is it going to be Fury Road?
Okay, wow. I know I was hated for nominating Fury Road on the chopping block, but my number 1 is Toy Story 3.
Oh,
Oh.
shit.
I love
Yeah,
Fury Road, but Toy
let's
Story
be
3
honest.
hit those emotional moments for me again.
All right, so we have our list. So our top 5 is number 5, Mission Impossible Fallout. Number 4, Creed. Number 3, Star Wars Force Awakens. Number 2, Mad Max Fury Road. And the number 1 best sequel to come out 10 years or more after the original, Toy Story 3. Robert Parker is in tears right now.
Robert, I'm sorry.
All right, so that is it for the show. Thank you all for watching. Again, this poll will be put out next weekend, and tune in next week where I will have a very interesting topic for next week. I'm very curious to see how it plays out. So, thank you for watching, and I will see you next week. For my crew, I want to thank my panel. I want to thank my crew at Full Metal Media. I'm Chance Ellison, and we will see you next time.